Welcome everyone to the SciManDan podcast, the place where science and conspiracy collide. This is, I'm starting to lose count, episode 11, I think. Thank you all so much for everyone who's listened so far. It's really enjoyable watching all the reviews come in and things like that. If you've not reviewed yet on iTunes, please do that. It really helps the podcast get up in the charts. So if you are listening and you're a regular listener and you haven't reviewed yet, please do drop a review. That'd be really much appreciated. Thank you. Right, let's crack on. Joining me again this week is the man who once spent an entire day literally looking for a needle in a haystack. It's Katz. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing great, mate. Although I missed the last podcast and I was hoping beyond hope that when we come back, I might be hearing a little bit of a bit of music.
I've got some good news for you. I do have the jingle. Obviously, I thought today we'll just play it, but in future we'll play it when you get introduced. So here we go. So I'd normally say something like, "It's Cats." And then we'd get into it. What do you think? You like that?
That sounds lovely.
It's Wolf.
He
did a little play on your outro, Wolf.
It was good. It was good. Wolf is great. I was thinking something a bit more like death metal.
No,
that kind of thing.
No. I wasn't. I said to him, "Don't give me cheesy radio stuff. I want something classy." And he said, "Yeah, we'll do a play on his outro." So we did that. Anyway, people started thinking it was a conspiracy on your jingle. Thinking like there was literally people saying, "It's a conspiracy. He hasn't got a jingle."
I was starting to think that myself, to be honest. I didn't want to call you out in public, but...
yeah, you could have done. It would have been fair. Right, so let's have a quick catch-up on the Flat Earth. Any Flat Earth news? It really does. We seem to be asking every week what the Flat Earth news is, and every week it seems to be nothing.
I think the focus has changed at the minute, hasn't it, with whatever's going on with vaccines and the lockdown, or all the attention seems to be focused on that. So it could be a while before we're back to our normal stream of... unique science.
I'm wondering if when the lockdown's over and all that and everything's sorted and the vaccines have kind of started doing their thing, if they'll start cracking out the Flat Earth videos again after that.
I think so. They'll always be putting content out, won't they? Unless something else comes along. That's always going to be the baseline that they fall back to. So fingers crossed we'll have something to tear apart.
There's a few new ones coming through. There's a guy I'm doing for tomorrow's Flat Earth Friday, a guy called Calvin Stroud, and he's got a £10,000 bet. And basically his theory was that he's a builder. He said you can't build buildings on a globe because one side of the building would be 90 degrees to the floor, but the other side, he figured it out, the other side would be 77 degrees from the floor because the globe would be curving. Honestly.
Is he the guy that basically drew a curve on a wardrobe and then hung a plumb line
That's
from
him.
it and said,
That's him.
The plumb line isn't?
Yeah, that is him. And, because we regularly have buildings that are 3,000 kilometres long, don't we?
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
Bless him. Right, let's get our guest on, shall we? So joining us this week is a man who was once entrenched in the world of flat earthers, but has since come back to the land of the living. It is Seek Truth, Speak Truth. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Yep, thanks for asking me along, bud. Yep, really, really good. Really happy to speak to you both.
No, happy to have you on. I know we've both separately spoke with you, haven't we, on our own channels? But I thought it'd be nice to get you on and chat a little bit more away from the kind of YouTube arena and more into this sort of thing, what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But it was our good friend Katz, wasn't it, that helped you back to the globe side, wasn't it? Can you just talk through the process a little bit of how you came back? What's the story? Where was there a light bulb moment, and was it Katz that gave it to you?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose kind of like the light bulb was already there, but kind of Katz flicked the switch, I suppose, if you know what I mean, and kind of reignited parts of my brain that had just disappeared, basically. My ego had just made certain parts of my brain not work.
Yeah.
I'd gone 2.5 years, so yeah, when Katz came along, I already had inklings, and I started to think to myself, I'm not 100% sure the Earth is flat. And then obviously Katz came along. He must have just at the perfect time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He could have maybe caught me 2 weeks later, and I might have been unsavable by then. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. So I owe a lot to Cats. But yeah, I mean, it's the whole community as well, if you know what I mean. But yes, mate, took a lot, but I'm back.
Yeah. And we're really pleased to have you. Cats, when you set that out for Seek Truth, Speak Truth, was it in your head to try and I'm bringing him back, or did you just want to debunk him, or were you trying to get him back to kind of normality?
No, well, the reason I got in touch with him was because I was reading some of the comments in one of the videos he made, and just like he said there, I think the light bulb was there, and the gears were turning, because he was having some pretty good conversations with some. Now I might be wrong with the names, but people like Where's Wally come to mind. Maybe he was. But he was having some pretty sensible conversations with some people, and obviously he'd taken on a lot of information, and he wasn't doing the usual. He was polite, he was articulate, he was at least trying to reason with the arguments. And I thought, well, here's someone who's been fed a load of information.
Yeah.
Maybe I can dump a load more on, maybe, but certainly, like, you're taken on board from a lot of people, aren't you?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people. I'd spoken to FTFE a lot as well. He sort of wanted me on there for a debate. I was very close to going on. I mean, part of me now thinks maybe if I'd have gone on there, I think I'd have conceded during that moment, if you know what I mean, as well. So it was kind of a case of you really just got me at the right time, if you know what I mean. But I was getting there. Just started to work out kind of who genuine people were, I think.
You said your ego kind of got in the way, but I would say, from what I watched of you when you were a flat earther, I would say your ego is nothing like most of the other flat earthers. Would you agree with that, Katz?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, just the fact that you're willing to, or that you were willing at the time to engage in discussion rather than just saying, "Oh, this is beneath me." Sometimes I'll leave messages with some people, and and I'll get nothing but a smiley face or my comment deleted. It's like, it's beneath me that. But you were there. You were genuinely, obviously, trying to engage and take things on board. And however right or wrong you felt you were open to discussion, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think people just are so attached to it, I think, if you know what I mean. And a lot of people have gained communities and friends within themselves, haven't they? Say, I don't know, on Ranty's, well, he doesn't really do it anymore, but Brandon's, they'll have flat earthers come on. They'll build up such a community. I never really was involved in the kind of echo chambers, if you know what I mean. So I think really that helped me a lot, because I looked at myself as just a lone ranger, shall we say, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I also wonder, obviously there's a flat earther at the minute, which we both did a video on, Rachie 50s, and I can see within her so many similarities. People just genuinely lost, which is why I've continued to do what I'm doing, because I think I can have a good voice. At first, I think I scared a lot of people away, because instantly it was, you're a fake, you never were a flat earther.
Yeah.
People just instantly putting their backs up to it. But, I've stuck around now, and I think I'm sort of gaining respect, even from some flat earthers, if you know what I mean. But, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not sure.
Yeah. But has the reaction from either side been what you expected? So did you expect to get such a hard time from the flat earthers, that kind of the group that you left? And did you expect to have, I don't want to say a warm welcome from all of us debunkers, but did you expect it to be such a fairly easy transition?
Yeah, I mean, I did at first. Obviously, I had quite a lot of sort of hatred, and it's still, you guys get it yourselves, don't you?
Yeah.
I think it is part of the course of being a YouTuber. But yeah, I mean, it was a good, it's basically one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, to actually come out and say I was wrong. It gave me a lot of respect. Obviously, the Globe side just kind of opened their arms out and just said, welcome back. Do you know what I mean? There are still, actually, I've noticed, some of the worst comments I get are actually still from Globers.
Really?
And I think there's a little bit of maybe jealousy there. And I understand it, because I've more or less been put on a pedestal for not, in my opinion, not really doing a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was very wrong about the shape of our Earth.
Yeah.
And I changed changed my mind. But a lot of people look up to me as like wow, if you can do it, you're the proof it can work, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah,
it's a little bit embarrassing. It's almost, it's ridiculous now looking back, if you know what I mean, to even think I believed it. But I've got to carry on. I don't think people, most people say, flat earthers, they're thick or whatever. I honestly don't think they are. And I believe if you're not searching for anything, that's where like a lack of intelligence comes from. But they've just been looking in the wrong places. But I wouldn't say that's necessarily, it doesn't make them stupid. Just unfortunately very misinformed.
Yeah. When they say things like do your research and stuff like that, was it ever in your head that the research could be done anywhere else other than YouTube?
It's not since I've left that I've really realised how solid science is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Peer-reviewed and things like that. But whilst I was a flat earther, sorry, mate, what was that question again?
So, like, was there ever an option other than going to YouTube for research? So was it all like, if someone said do your research, was it like, it's got to be YouTube, if it's anything else, I'm not going to believe it?
Yeah, it does get to that point very early on. Obviously, you're more or less, there's steps that you kind of go through. At first, obviously, you hear, you're indoctrinated at school.
Yeah.
The first thing you see is the globe, and all these tiny little things that really are ridiculous. You start adding them all up, and then you start thinking, oh yeah, like that's why, that's why they show us the globe, because they've got to get that lie into us as a child. But it's the reason they're doing that is because that is where we live, isn't it? You know, and it's kind of
absolutely. Of course.
I didn't realise how really undebunkable science was whilst I was a flat earther. I thought I was, had a good scientific mind, which obviously I didn't, but that's where the confusion comes from. A lot of people overestimate what they actually know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there'll still be a lot of people like that out there who have come to a conclusion thinking they've done research, thinking that they genuinely have got a good understanding of what's going on and have arrived at that point and think, I genuinely believe this, I am a genuine flat earther, as opposed to others who will have gone through the process and realise it's not. So what percentage do you think are still those genuine flat earthers?
It's hard to say. It could be, say, literally 50-50. I'd like to think that, because I cannot understand why someone would be a troll. There are channels that I believe are in it just to make money, and they're actually globe believers. But so I kind of have an understanding why they do it, because they're making money from it. But I can't make out why someone just sits there one day, they know we live on a globe, and they just think, do you know what? I'm just going to start a YouTube channel and start telling everyone the Earth's flat. Like, what place in your mind do you have to be to do that? So I'd like to think it was more 80% genuine flat earthers, but I can't say for sure. And there's definitely a lot of trolls out there, and they're probably the more vocal of them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there absolutely is a lot of troll. You were a big Debay fanboy, weren't you, when you were a flat earther?
Yeah.
What do you think about him? Do you think he's
big time?
Do you think he's genuine?
When I kind of first left, I was like, I believe he's not genuine. He's actually, he knows we live on a globe. Similar with Dell. But now I'm actually thinking, like, have they convinced themselves of it, if you know what I mean? Like,
that's a good
they're
point.
more or less living in delusion, if you know what I mean. They have to live that life. So more or less, it's so difficult to say. I used to just accuse people and just go, you're a fake, you're not. Do you know what I mean? But I'm kind of trying to stop doing that now, if you know what I mean, because I hated it when people said it to me. So
you just don't know, do you? It's difficult to...
You just know. You just do not know.
Yeah. You said you were you felt a little bit like a lone ranger when you were a flat earther. So you never met up with any other flat earthers in real life or anything like that?
No.
Was there
obviously that's where you realise just how few there are.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. There just wasn't anyone local to me, really. I mean, maybe if I'd have tried to look harder, but no, never in the normal world, shall we say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember I once took the mick a little bit out of the conference they did in the UK because there was like a camera shot of them panning across and all the chairs were empty. And I remember taking the mick saying that they couldn't sell many tickets or anything like that. Were you a flat earther then when the UK conference was on?
I'd imagine so. Yeah, I mean, obviously they wouldn't have done it last year, would they?
No.
But so I mean, it was the year before that. I definitely would have been a flat earther at that point.
Okay.
It was more like I would be telling people in my normal day-to-day life more. If you know what I mean? Like I'd think like I'm going to make more of an impact telling my friends and family, if you know what I mean, and spread it around them. And obviously that's when they started just saying, mate, you're going crazy. Like what on earth is going on? And then I got the passion to make videos, if you know what I mean. But like, even say I went to a festival once and my T-shirt was like, the earth is flat, you know, and people were coming up to me then going like, oh, come on, mate, you know, what on earth are you thinking about? And I kind of, you know, so I was kind of in my own day-to-day life starting to get to that, definitely, because I was going out wearing T-shirts saying the earth is flat. So it was bad.
Looking back on that now, so let's just forget the YouTube and internet stuff. Let's just think about your actual belief of what you thought the shape of the earth and your day-to-day life. Looking back on that now, how do you think of yourself back then? And because it affected you quite a bit personally, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I mean, it did. It pushed a lot of my sort of people close to me away, friends, if you know what I mean. So it really did have quite a big impact. And it's a bit of a shame, really, because obviously we've had all the lockdowns, well, I say a shame, but I haven't had that opportunity to kind of get out and meet those people again, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I kind of know that, you know, people will actually invite me to barbecues again. And, do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I'm excited by that, just to think, you know, I'm going to get a social life back and things like that, you know. So, which is so important for yourself, isn't it? I think in conspiracy theorists, you get it is a loner sort of style, you know, unless you can find someone in your day-to-day life. That's why people do progress online, and they think, oh, well, I've got to reach out to similar-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think there's a deeper psychological issue going on here then for the people that believe things like this?
Definitely. I can obviously only speak from my experience, but I definitely think it's more of a psychological thing than anything at all. I call it ego, but you know, it could be labelled as a lot of things. But yeah, definitely, it's it's so hard to explain. Obviously, you've got, like, say, Dunning-Kruger, haven't you? And just there's a lot of things that have to all line up, I think. Psychological things, maybe. I had a bit of a difficult year. I think I'd sort of split up temporarily with a girlfriend, like, for about 6 months, and it was within that time where I was on my own. I was actually living in a friend's garage.
Wow.
You know, I was solo at the time, and I found YouTube. Well, not found YouTube, but found these flat Earth videos, found community, and then actually I did get back with my girlfriend. Well, we're split up again now, but then by the time I was back with her, I was then a flat earther.
Okay.
And she was like, what? Like, and it actually fascinated her for a little while.
Oh, really?
She started to, you know, say, oh yeah, like, do you know my boyfriend's a flat earther? And she'd be actually not embarrassed by it. But then obviously when she kind of realised, like, because she, you know, she's sort of quite a spiritual person, shall we say.
Yeah.
So I was trying to align that with what her beliefs were. And obviously then when suddenly kind of it didn't click for her, she realised, like, oh, hang on a minute, basically my boyfriend's turned crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no real other way of saying it.
Yeah.
And it pushed us apart, you know, it really did. I always say, like, I literally couldn't look up at the sunset without saying, like, oh, oh, don't the sun look like it's going away? And
wow,
pushing people away, mate.
Yeah. Could it have been anything that came along? Like, say another conspiracy came along and there was all these people on YouTube doing it. Could it have been anything, or was it specifically Flat Earth that, bearing in mind what your mindset was?
Yeah, I mean, the belief you've got hidden knowledge is a big pull.
Yeah,
if you know
I
what
can imagine. Yeah.
I was doing my A-levels, and I only did my first year, and I had a bit of a sort of tragedy. My mum sort of passed away whilst I was doing my A-levels.
Oh, no.
And basically I just left and never followed education on anymore. But I was actually doing like biology, chemistry and physics as my A-levels. So I was actually going down that right path, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot of things that did lead to obviously where my beliefs went. But yeah, so say, I don't know, Bigfoot's real or whatever, like it doesn't give you that inner strength or power. Whereas like Flat Earth,
it's a big thing,
makes you
isn't
literally feel like Superman at first.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this strength that eventually it then starts to break you within, if you know what I mean. Like, it's such a strange thing. It sort of more or less feels like it turns you to stone, but then the stone just starts to crumble. Do you know what I mean? Sure. Like, it's such a strange way of feeling.
That's a really good way of putting it, actually, with the stone thing.
Yeah, must feel very enlightening at that initial point to think you're walking around and you know something that everybody else around you doesn't know. You know, but then as they start correcting you, they're chipping away at that. And I can see where you're getting. It's great. So talking of chipping away at the old faults, people like myself and SciManDan, the whole kind of debunking community, how annoying were we at the time, or were we not? Were we just, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, had heard of SciManDan. I'd, even if in a few videos I was saying like him and Bill Nye are here to cover up the shape of the planet. They're both devil worshippers, and then I remember I think I said something like SciManDan's not as bad as Bill Nye, but he's still evil, or something like that. Like, so I definitely, I thought he was part of the operation to keep this all covered.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, and FTFE. Yeah, so you do, like, literally, I was thinking, you are so evil. How can you sit there knowing that we live on a flat planet? Do you know what I mean? And but
so
it's so weird, obviously, now.
Yeah. Was it your opinion then, or was it your belief that all of the Flat Earth debunkers knew that it was flat, but are all lying about it? Is that what you thought?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. That you'd, I mean, not necessarily, the whole NASA thing's a bit silly, I think, but definitely being employed by somebody to, keep everything covered up and to ridicule Flat Earth, to make it look stupid.
Funnily enough, I once spent about, I think it was a course of 2 or 3 days in the end, just winding up Nathan Oakley. Nathan Oakley's just a guy that does like a daily debate show, and I was in the chat. Basically, I was saying that I knew Neil deGrasse Tyson and that I'd have to message him to confirm or deny certain things. And he was, he's probably one of the ones that we think isn't a flat earther. And he was kind of buying it, but I'm sure he was buying it for the sake of his show and the interaction with people. And but I think I ended up wasting 2 of his shows, just him having a go at me. And I thought, well, that's 2 shows where he's not chucking his ideas at people, making them believe them. Did you believe all of the other stuff that came with Flat Earth? So like anti-space, moon landing didn't happen, all of that. Were you in on that as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was always a moon landing denier, but then it suddenly all fit in. Everything's CGI. There's no real photo of Earth. Everything. I was listing it all off, and I actually bring that round on people now and say, well, who's got the proof that these photos are fake? If you know what I mean? Like, all I hear is words. I've never seen any proof that anyone has shown that these are faked images. So, you just hear it. Oh, they're all fake. I think that was what's he called, music guru or some conspiracy music guru, and he had that song.
Oh, the guy that does the music. Yeah.
And he had that song, and I was playing them over and over again, and just being like, oh my god, like, and you believe that, like, a man with a guitar saying that there's no photos of Earth.
Yeah,
that's my fact. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, what about the man with the guitar who was on the ISS singing? What was it? Who was singing? Cats?
I'm not sure.
Major ground control, wasn't it?
Yeah. That Space Odyssey. That's it. Space Odyssey. Yeah. What about him? You thought it was fake? CGI.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, I'm trying to think of the other ones but like, so if, for example, you were watching, that was it. Debate. So Debate does a lot of no such thing as dinosaurs and all that. Were you in on that as well?
Yep, I was a dinosaur denier. Yeah, wow. Definitely.
So everything. So say for example, Debate put out a video and he said, I don't believe that children are actually real. They're just figments of everyone's imagination. Would you have been happy with that?
Christ, I mean, I was in deep, but I mean, maybe not that example, if you know what I mean, because you can physically see them,
exactly,
them, if you know what I mean. But like, he could have more or less listed off anything, I think, and I'd have believed it. Obviously, there's another one which is disgusting for what he denies, and I was nearly getting to that point, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So Eric Debate, he doesn't believe that the Holocaust is real. Is that right?
Yeah. That's... And I was very.
Wow.
It's stuff like that as well. I was saying stuff like that to my family.
Yeah.
So you're right. Because there was no way I'd have ever believed anything like that. So that's probably the best example as to someone that is so against anything to do with racism.
Yeah.
To slowly, start to even think along those lines. So that's how dangerous I think he is. It's more the other stuff he pushes, isn't it?
Yeah, because flat Earth. I mean, it is relatively harmless, but we do say that it's kind of a gatekeeper conspiracy, which leads you into other things. And then a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, but some of them do cross that line, don't they? Like that example of Eric Debate that was obviously one example. But was there any other conspiracies that you wouldn't touch as a flat earther?
I think I was game for them all, to be honest. I
really?
mean, I don't think someone watched one the other day, and I mean, I was even into all the sort of not QAnon as such, because that was only came about. Yeah. I don't know. I never really, but even stuff like that. The Illuminati and just everything just seemed to fit. It was like basically whatever the government tell us, it's the opposite of that.
Wow.
Actually, I did have a friend who was a real conspiracy nut. Well, I'd still class him as a friend, but he never got into flat Earth. But literally everything else, the Freemasons, and he's now a complete COVID denier.
Wow.
So he, I've lost my train of thought there. So yeah, I did have someone in my life where I was meeting up, but he used to think that flat Earth was being pushed as a psyop, if you know what I mean. Say, that's to get everyone's attention to that away from the real conspiracy problems that are going on.
I see.
If you know what I mean. Yeah. So, but I'd still, be insistent that the Earth's flat. You've missed that one sort of thing. But yeah, anything you can think of, I believed it basically.
You're in.
And see, and I get that point of view as well, because if you're going to believe in flat Earth, there's so many things tied to it. You just have to believe in so many things, and it all, it can all just seem false and made up. But now you're out of it, and you don't have to. It's just something still left that you think, you know what? I'm not so sure about that. Or I'm not so sure about this. Anything that you still might believe is a conspiracy, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, even say when. Because sort of COVID actually hit, so only about 3 or 4 months after I left Flat Earth, and I saw the now infamous David Icke stream that he did about saying, it's all a hoax and all of this.
Yeah.
And I was actually watching that, believing him still. You know, I'd fully come out of flat Earth.
Wow.
I think it was on London Real.
Yeah, the YouTube channel. Yeah.
So, and he done another one. And I weren't until done the second one that I was actually then starting to realise COVID was real. So, yeah, it took me even probably 3 or 4 months to accept that.
Yeah. So that I was going to say actually a minute ago, when you were a flat earther, I guess you would have been fully on the COVID is a hoax bandwagon when you were a flat earther.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would have. It just becomes natural, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, if any, well, you know, say the anti-vaxxers, there was already that movement there, which I was an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
So those are instantly going to come out and say, obviously, oh, this is all only about to force a vaccine on you. And, you know, so I would have, like I say, there was still the remnants there, because when it first came out, I was still of that mindset of like, there's something going on here. Here's, what was that thing I remember, Agenda 31? And, you know, and that just all suddenly was like, maybe the flat earth was a psyop.
Yeah.
You know, we are moving to the end of the world, you know, one world government. And, but I'm back now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I fully accept it's real and take every precaution I can, you know.
Yeah, and we're pleased to have you, buddy. We're pleased to have you. Right, let's play Guess the Conspiracy. Someone in the YouTube on the YouTube channel for the podcast said in the comments the other day they didn't know what the lyrics were to the Guess the Conspiracy jingle. I just said it's Guess the Conspiracy. Right, this is the part of the show where Katz and I both come up with a fake conspiracy theory, and we're going to try and trick our guest to select the conspiracy theory which one of us has made up, and for them to not pick the one which is genuine, which people do actually believe. I think this will be a tough one, Katz. What do you think? Because obviously he's been in the world, hasn't he? So he'll know a lot of them.
Yeah, and stuck around to be in our community is hearing the ones that come up all the time. So yeah, I think we're up against it here, mate.
Yeah, we are. I'm trying to think of the score. I think, what's the score? Is it 6-3? I think it's 6-3.
I wasn't here last time.
It is 6-3.
Is it 6-3?
I tricked Chris Lintott with one of my conspiracies about London not being real. So I pulled him off on that one. 6-3 to us. So this is a big one actually, because if we get this, you know, is there any catching us? So you need to get this one. You need to get this one. Right, here we go. Conspiracy number 1. Humans don't need to breathe. We just think we do, but we don't actually need to breathe to live. That's the conspiracy. First one. Number 2, the universe is an actual being that's alive. That's conspiracy number 2. And number 3, everything smaller than a grain of sand is not actually there and exists in a subatomic matrix world. That's conspiracy number 3. So what do you think? What are you thinking?
Could you go through them one more time, please? Because they're more difficult than I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's fine. So first one, humans don't need to breathe. We just think we need to breathe, but we don't actually need to survive, to live. Number 2, the universe is an actual being that is alive. And number 3 is that everything smaller than a grain of sand is not actually there and exists in a subatomic matrix world. Which one of those 3 is the actual conspiracy theory that people believe?
It's difficult, but I'm actually going to go for you don't need to actually breathe.
You're going for that as the conspiracy that people believe?
Yeah.
Final answer?
Final answer.
We have done it again. We've done it again. Incredible. It's now 7-3. This is a demolition. This is an absolute... So, Kat's made that one up. He's caught you.
I got that one,
He's caught you.
Yeah.
The real one was that universe is alive. The universe is actual being that is alive. That is the real conspiracy that someone actually believes. I came up with the one with everything smaller than a grain of sand is not actually there and exists in a subatomic matrix world. So there we go. We have done it again. Do you know, Katz, we were 3-2 down at one point. Yeah. No, we were 3-1 down at one point.
We were.
I think.
But I think at 7-3.
7-3.
Don't worry about it. At 7-3, I think it's actually mathematically impossible for us to be caught now.
Ever. Yeah. Assuming the podcast finishes in 3 episodes.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting better. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming along and chatting to us about how it was when you were a flat earther and how you came out and things like that. I think it's an important story for people to hear, because hopefully if there's anyone else out there who is like you, there's always ways to leave that community and to come out, as so to speak. Right, that's it. We're done. You are on Twitter, aren't you? Is it at Seek Truth, Speak Truth? Is that your Twitter handle?
132 at Seek Truth, Speak Truth 132.
Perfect. We'll pop it in the description, and you're on obviously YouTube as well. We are done. Next week we will actually have Wolf talking about psychic mediums. I said the other week we're having him the week on, but I messed up my dates. So next week it's Wolf talking to us about psychic mediums, and he is going to try and cold read Cats and I. So look forward to that one. See you all soon. Bye bye.